Hello, this is my presentation on school at a cost. How does school funding work in your district? There's a couple steps that are involved in the budget process. The district's budget is planned and updated regularly as new information comes in. It uses a method called zero-based budgeting, where leaders from departments and schools help decide how money should be spent. Every month, actual spending is compared to the budget and report to district leaders and the board in a treasurer report. The district is fully responsible for creating and adjusting its budget, managing money, handling any extra funds or shortages, and managing debt. Independent auditors check that the district's financial controls work well and that it follows laws, including rules for federal funding. Each month, the business office gives the board a report showing any changes to the budget. The next step is budget planning. Planning starts in the fall before the new school year. A calendar is made to keep track of important dates and tasks. This helps the district stay on schedule to approve the budget for the next year. The next step is budget preparation. The budget is based on the best estimates of money coming in and going out. Money is allocated to school principals and department leaders who decide how to use it at their schools and departments. Again, the zero-based budgeting means every expense must be explained and justified from the beginning. The budget also includes staff salaries, benefits, and expected big purchases or projects. The business office meets with leaders to collect their budget requests. The finance committee looks at priorities and challenges. Early budget information includes revenue estimates and possible staffing or programs shared with the board. Budget adoption. In May, the board sees the first draft of the budget and can ask for changes. A proposed budget is prepared and shared again in June or July. The final budget is approved in August or September. And after approval, the final budget is sent to the State Board of Education, the regional superintendent, and the county clerk within 30 days or by September 30th. The next step is budget implementation. Once approved, the business office puts the budget into the financial software, either through Skyward or Forecast 5, so it can be used during the new school year. And the last step is budget management. Throughout the year, the business office stays in touch with budget leaders to make sure spending follows the budget. The budget process always looks ahead to prepare for the next year. What is the budget per student? This is a table that I was able to find through my district, Grace Lake District 46, about the enrollment history, how many students are enrolled. And then the most up-to-date numbers that they have for total enrollment was 22 through 23 fiscal year, which I have here circled. 3,677 was the student enrollment. This table represents the funds that were allocated, again, through the district. So revenues, total expenditures, additional expenses, other financing sources, and the total after all the deductions is circled here. So for District 46, after doing the calculation, the budget per student came out to $9,655. And to the right, I have a basic graph that explains the breakdown between the different categories. So District 46 quarterly financial overview dashboard includes key revenue, expenses, financial balances data by quarter. Revenue information can include revenue by sources, property taxes, CCPRT, interest earnings, evidence-based funding, state transportation reimbursement, and federal Title I funds. Now we will move on to the state and national average comparisons. So we'll start here with the state. I've highlighted it for you already. They have the 2024 budget finalized numbers released here, and it says that balance there's $748,138,100 as the available funds, state level, and then the final child or student enrollment, 137,075. Based on the figures presented in both graphs, at the state level, the budget per student was $5,463, and at the national level, it was $5,701. So as you can see, it's not that big of a difference. These tables are complementing the national levels, so you'll see that the total amount of expenditures at the national level for the United States is circled there. This is the total enrollment. And additionally, the total expenditures also highlighted there at the national level, which was presented on a couple of screens ago, which explains the state and national budget per student. What are the effects of economic inequity in schools? Economic inequity in schools leads to many serious problems that affect students, teachers, and communities. First, schools in low-income areas often have fewer resources. This means they might have older textbooks and technology that's out of date, and their buildings might be well kept. Because of the lack of funding, students may miss out on important programs like extracurricular activities, sports, arts, advanced classes that can help them grow. These schools also have a hard time keeping good teachers. Good teacher retention is essential in a student's development. When teachers leave, often it disrupts their learning ability. Additionally, students in underfunded schools usually perform worse academically compared to their peers, leading to higher dropout rates. The stress from economic challenges can also affect students' mental health, making them feel anxious or less confident. They may feel left out or undervalued, which impacts their sense of belonging at school. In the long run, these issues can limit students' chances for higher education and good jobs, keeping them trapped in a cycle of poverty. It's important to address these funding gaps so that all students have the opportunity to succeed and reach their full potential. What do other countries do to address similar issues? I was able to pull a couple of sources and found some information on various countries, but I'll just mention a couple of them. Many countries have found ways to tackle economic inequality in education and make sure all students get a good education. Investing in fair funding, support services, and community programs can help reduce economic inequality in education, allowing all students to thrive. So, for one example, in India, the government has launched programs to provide free education to children from low-income families, along with midday meals in schools to encourage attendance and improve nutrition. In China, they have made significant investments in education, especially in rural areas. The government provides subsidies for schools and often incentives for teachers to work in less developed regions. It helps improve the quality of education available to students in those specific areas. In South Africa, initiatives like the National School Nutrition Program provides meals to students in low-income areas, encouraging and improving health. Additionally, the government has invested in improving school infrastructure in under-resourced communities. So these are just to name a few. Who are the leaders in your district, state, or the country pushing for change? At the district level, the superintendent is key in advocating for fair funding and resources for schools. They work with the school board to make policies that help all students. School board members also play an important role as they're elected officials who influence education decisions and can push for changes to support schools in need. And here's a quote. Until this year, funding disparities between schools in the same district were hard to identify. Most districts didn't budget in a way that allowed comparisons of school level spending. They reported only district-wide averages, making disparities across districts the primary fodder for conversations about educational inequities. Now, a federal financing reporting requirements has taken effect, demanding that the states report per student spending by the school, just as they report student performance by school, and enforcing transparency about disparate spending inside of district lines. By Mathewson. At the state level, the State Education Commissioner oversees education in the state and advocates for policies that promote fairness and access to quality education. State legislators are elected officials who can sponsor bills aimed at improving funding and resources for schools, especially those that serve low-income students. On the national level, the U.S. Secretary of Education works to improve education across the country, focusing on making sure that all students have equal opportunities. Organizations such as the Education Trust and American Civil Liberties Union also fight for educational equity and support policies that help disadvantaged students. Another quote, while federal law has only recently demanded transparency around school funding disparities for every district and country, equity battles have played out in a handful of districts and communities over the years. Also by Mathewson. Additionally, local community organizations and activists are essential in advocating for educational changes that include funding that benefits schools with fewer resources. Together, these leaders and organizations work to improve the education system for all students, giving everyone a chance to succeed. Some creative, actionable solutions can be schools can hold fun events like bake sales, talent shows, or fun runs to raise money for supplies and programs. Getting students, parents, and local businesses involved can create a strong community effort. Schools can also team up with local businesses to get donations or sponsorships to support educational activities. Another idea is to offer workshops that teachers and staff show them how to write grant proposals. This way they can apply for money to fund special programs or resources. Encouraging students and parents to advocate for better funding is also important. Schools can organize meetings where community members can talk to local leaders about their needs. Providing free or low-cost technology like laptops and internet access can also help students who struggle to keep up with online learning. And finally, schools can set up peer tutoring programs where older students help younger ones with their studies. Training older students to be tutors and pairing them with those who need help can create caring learning environments. And this is my reference page. Thank you.